So are you someone who struggles with getting your base to last long? I know that makeup looks beautiful on Instagram as well as on YouTube, but is it really being practical in your life? If that is something which you're struggling with, then I think this video is going to be super helpful for you. So today we're going to be talking about how you can achieve a long-lasting base. That way your makeup stays put all throughout the day, even if you're wearing a mask and even if you have extremely oily skin and if you're super sweaty like me. So I'm going to start with toner. I have the Minimalist PHA toner. It's just like a watery toner. I feel like I like watery toners a lot more than something which is more dense and very thick in nature. So I'm personally not a fan of using cotton pads because I just feel like it's so bad for the environment if I'm going to use one every day. So now we're just going to use the Earth Rhythm Ultra Defense Sunscreen. I really like this one. So I'm just going to take like 2 fingerful of it. Sometimes I go in for an extra one if I feel like it's not sufficient. So let's just kind of work that into the skin. Make sure you take your product in your under eye area, and if you're someone who has a very dry under eye, just go ahead with an eye cream well before in hand. I had an eye cream all throughout the day and I'm kind of filming in the evening, so my skin is pretty well moisturized. So don't jump directly to your makeup. Like, give it a little bit of time, wait for it to absorb into your skin, and that's one of the best tips I can give you. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next step, which is kind of like my special step over here. I'm just using a little bit of loose powder. This is the Mamaearth's loose powder. So I'm just going to take a little bit of it on a brush and I'm just going to pat it on areas which are extremely oily on my skin, which is mainly my T-zone and pretty much the entire face. But then we're just going to go ahead with the T-zone, and I'm just going to go on the forehead area and a little on the nose, upper lip and the chin. Press your brush onto your skin rather than dragging it. That way you can kind of get more powder to stick onto your skin rather than it flying everywhere around and wasting your money. So we're just going to push it into our skin, and that way it kind of gives us a good amount of matteness, at least before we get ahead to our makeup. Now hear me out why this step is so important. Like, it's better to go ahead with a little bit of powder all across your skin, because slowly when your oils start to come out, the first layer that it's actually going to start to kind of get into is going to be the powder layer, and that will give you a little more time to save your base from getting completely blotchy. Okay, so once you're done with that step, what we're going to do is to go ahead with a little bit of concealer. So you can see that there are dark circles and all that stuff. So as an everyday routine, I kind of just stick to more concealer and less of foundation. So we're going to do the concealer first and then go ahead to the foundation. So my favorite one is the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Concealer. I absolutely love it. I hated it when I first got it, and then I started to just kind of like it. So I'm just going to take a little on the inner part and a tiny bit over here. So less concealer, just one spot on the inner part and a little bit on the under eye. But don't put more on the under eye because that's going to give you a terrible creasing, and plus you don't pull it too much towards the pores area because that's where your skin starts to get oily. Okay, so moving on to the next tip when it comes to foundation is to mix your foundation with a little bit of setting spray. Not fixing spray, not that dewy face mist, none of that stuff. Setting spray. A good option will be the Urban Decay's all-nighter setting spray, or you can try the one size setting spray. If you want something at the drugstore, you can always go ahead with the Milani's Make It Last setting spray, or you can use the Wet n Wild's Photo Focus setting spray. So we're just gonna go ahead with a little bit of foundation on the back of my hand. I'm using literally the most tiniest amount because we don't need a lot of coverage, right? And what I would do is to mix my setting spray into that foundation. Like, just one spritz should be more than enough. And I'm just going to use a brush and I'm just kind of, mixing it on my hand itself. And when I have a good amount of product on the brush, I'm going to go on the skin. So skip your under eye area. Start in the places where you need coverage. For my problematic area is the lower side of my face. Pull it downwards into your neck. The only thing you got to be careful is that, like, this method will make your foundation to dry really fast. So you got to work pretty fast too. You really can't take your sweet time, and you might want to just kind of go ahead super fast and blend that on the areas where you want a bit of coverage. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Like, natural looking skin. Like, I don't really look like I'm wearing anything on my skin, which is the best part of it. So my next tip will be to kind of give it a little bit of time to set by itself. So we're not going to directly go ahead with powder, that we don't cake on too much powder, and that's going to look like a nightmare probably after 4 hours. So we're going to give it some time. Let's wait. Let's do other things in the base, and then we'll come back into this step right now. So what I'm going to do is to use the Mamaearth's loose powder, and I have these packed mini pizza puff kind of ones. They're like this really cute puffs. So we're just gonna take some powder on it, not tons and tons of it. So what you're gonna do is to kind of use your finger and pat this area, because you could have a little bit of concealer which is sticking into the lines. So we're just gonna do this, and I'm gonna slowly just press that powder in that area. You can bring it downwards slightly into the nose area, like where you get very oily. Push. Don't pull, don't rub, just push. Push this product into your skin. That way, it will just take care of this under eye creasing, and I'm really guaranteeing that you will not have any under eye creasing with this method. Let's move ahead with a little bit of contouring. I like the Balm Bahama Mama bronzer, and this is kind of like the tiny mini travel size one, and I haven't hit pan on this itself. So I'm just gonna take that one on a brush. It's just an angled brush. So we're just gonna do a tiny bit of contour. If you have a very chiseled face, you can skip this step. I'm extremely circular, so we gotta get some features into the skin. I kind of want to reduce the width of this part of my face, so I'm going on the sides over there. And we're going to do the same thing over here on the jaw. So I'm not actually contouring, I'm just kind of warming up and adding like a little bit of color. And if you realize that this is a powder, so you don't have to apply a setting powder on those areas. That's the reason why I'm doing this right now. Okay, so that's just about how I go with my contour routine. And now we're going to move to blush. I am using a cream blush today, but if you want, you can always just use a powder blush. It's going to make your blush to last a lot more longer. These ones, they kind of last pretty well on my skin, so I'm kind of liking this right now. I kind of like that lifted look, so I go with blush towards the back of my cheek. So once that's done, I just go with a little bit of a lip product. This is the Etude House Fixing Tint, and I have it in the shade Analong Rose. So I just apply it and I just use my finger. I have a bit of pigmentation on my upper lip, so I'm kind of applying a little more there. So we're almost done with the base, and we're just going to work on keeping it more long lasting right now. So I'm just picking up some product. I'm just taking some powder on the back of a puff, and we're going to start to push that into our skin. You can see I'm starting with the areas where I get the most oiliest, and we're slowly going to start going towards the other areas after that. So I'm just pushing that. Remember, we've done the under eyes, so we don't have to go there right now. And why did we do the under eyes first is because we're going to go ahead with blush and everything. So we don't want like overlapping of textures because of that. So I'm literally just pushing and patting that the powder into my skin. If you like a little bit of glow, you can just kind of let certain areas be. Like, for example, I'm not going to apply it on my cheek because I like that cheek area to have a little bit of shine, but I don't like my T-zone having shine, So I'm just pushing it on the areas where I get extremely oily, which is my nose, a very oily area. So that's pretty much it. You've kind of mattified your entire face at this time. And what we're going to do is to go ahead with a little bit of setting spray right now. So I'm just picking the Urban Decay All Nighter setting spray. We're going to go for 2 rounds of setting spray. So just kind of take a deep breath. Keep your eyes closed because you don't want it getting into your eye and your mouth. But yeah, just kind of let it sink in. And once that's done, we're going to do it again. And we're going to wait for this to absorb, and then we're going to do it. Another tip for you will be to go ahead with a tiny bit of powder now. Like when the first layer is kind of dried, you can go with some powder on the areas like your T-zone and your smile lines and your forehead if you're oily there. And then you can wait for the powder to sit on the skin, and then you can go with some setting spray. But if you're just lazy, you can just go with another round of setting spray and you can skip the powder step, but it does kind of help to keep your skin a lot more mattified for a longer period of time and to keep your makeup in place. So that was my second round of setting spray. So this is your final look, and I hope that you enjoyed my tips to make your makeup last longer. It's just a lot of layering between your powder, your setting spray, and your foundation. If you're someone who is extremely oily, go ahead with a foundation which can be more long lasting than the one I used today. So just make sure that you're following the layers and you're not changing the steps in the middle, because that can end up to giving you some kind of cakiness or excessive texture. This method is going to sit on your skin pretty well for throughout the day. Even if you're super oily, even if you go on a hike, it is going to last on your skin. So I hope you all enjoyed this one, and let me know down in the comment section below if this worked for you and if it's something that you're going to try out. Until next time, bye bye.